Right, so we're learning Orot HaTeshuva right now for the month of Elul until, God willing, Sukkot time. We'll be studying about Tshuva, about returning to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, from the writings of Kook. Kook, for those of us who know, but the rest of the Kol guys are going to come back after at Shefer Brachot right now. So they'll get here when they get here, B'ezrat Hashem. Rav Kook was a special tzaddik, a special man. I don't know if you call him a man, really was a... Let me tell you a story about Rav Kook, because it's better to hear, how do you know if you're good? From the opposition, you can tell if you're good. Right? That's always how it works. It says, Yehalel Chazal velo picha. It tells us that your mouth should never praise yourself. Meaning, somebody says, oh, are you a good cook? Don't say yes. Say, ask my wife. Why? Because you shouldn't say about yourself something good. Yehalel Chazal velo picha. The Zohar Kadosh tells us, Yehalel Chazal, if you don't have a stranger to praise you, you don't have somebody to find, so picha, your mouth should open up divrei Torah. You should speak words of Torah. And when you speak words of Torah, suddenly people will realize who you really are. They'll understand your value by how you speak. You know, sometimes it used to be in different places, we used to travel, different countries, Ashkenazim, travel to Sfaradim to Ashkenazim, Jews, different, and we didn't have a language that we spoke in common. But would come time to actually get to know, so who's the person in front of you? Torah, we knew a little bit. So if they would speak Torah, you would know, okay, this person must be somebody special. This idea is true. This is especially true when it comes to not just Divrei Torah, but in general. You want to learn if someone is good, go look at what the opposition says about him. If the opposition can say something good, you know it's true, because they don't have any good reason to lie. If anything, they want to make him look bad. So, there was a rabbi, I don't know if he's a rabbi, it was a man a few years ago, maybe 5 years ago, wanted to write a book about Rav Kook, that he was a bad person. That he was a rasha, that he was evil, that he didn't know what he was saying. You know, you always have people that HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, since you can't write books on anything else, I'm going to give you books that are crazy to write them. So, he wrote a book, and he brought it to Rav Elyashiv. Rav Elyashiv, most people don't know, was a student of Rav Kook. He learned by him. The Mesader Kiddushin, the one who married Rav Kook at his wedding, was Rav Elyashiv. Other way around. Rav Elyashiv was married by Rav Kook. But Rav Kook also had a connection with Rav Elyashiv's grandfather, the Baal HaLeshem, the big Kabbalist. And so it was a connection that goes very far back. So this man came to Rabbi Elyashiv thinking he's going to get a haskama, he's going to get a letter of approval for his book. So Rabbi Elyashiv said, not only are you not getting a letter of approval, he wrote a letter to the man printing the books and said, even if he paid you, in the middle, you have to stop printing the books. It's forbidden. You have to destroy all the copies of the books that you have. And burn them. I don't care. You can't have them. So he figured, listen, if the Ashkenazim are not going to help him, so he went to the Sfaradim. He went to Chacham Ovadia Yosef, alav shalom, in Havanof. And he said, Ovadia, I want to print this book, right? You don't like Rav Kook, right? Chacham Ovadia said, let me tell you. So when I was a yeshiva boy, a young boy, he learned in Poat Yosef. Poat Yosef at the time was before the founding of the state of Israel. It was in the old city in Yerushalayim. And there was a rabbi in Poat Yosef who was absolutely, he was the Sephardic rabbi of the Neturei Karta. So the Neturei Karta, who are against Israel, they were looking for a Sephardic branch. He was the rabbi of the, I believe it was Chacham Mutzafi, but I'm not sure. Don't hold me to it. So this rabbi, Sephardic head of Neturei Karta, it was Simchat Torah, and he told Chacham Ovadia, I want to show you something special. So he took Chacham Ovadia from the old city all the way to Kehillat Moshe. You know where that is? It's like walking from the Kotel to the bus station. Almost. More than that. To where Merkaz Rav Kook was. Very good. Very, by the bridge. And he walked with him, and he came into the yeshiva of Kook. And Rav Kook was from the groups of Jews that only the Rosh Yeshiva danced. Everyone just watches. Not everyone dances, just him. And they looked at Rav Kook dancing, and this rabbi from the Neturei Karta said, you see him? Ze malach Adonai Tzevaot Mamash. This is an angel of God, literally an angel of God. and then walked back with him to Puat Yosef. He told him it was worth it just to walk all this way to come and see Rav Kook was an angel of Hashem. So if that's what the Natura Karta said, you can only imagine what we think about him. Go on Israel. He was good friends. He was the chief rabbi together with Rabbi Yaakov Meir, who was the Rishon LeZion, who was the Sephardic chief rabbi of Israel. They together opened up a new chief rabbinate. Rav Kook came to Israel from Europe. He was sent to Israel by who? Who sent Rav Kook to Israel? Very good. Chavetz Chaim. The Chavetz Chaim was his rabbi. And the Chavetz Chaim said, I'm sending you to Israel, I want you to be a chief rabbi. And he came to Israel, became a chief rabbi, and amongst all the opposition that happened, Baruch Hashem, Rav Kook's Torah is still with us. And Rav Kook, his whole message was, there are Jews in Israel, they came to Israel after 2,000 years in exile of keeping their religion. They come to Israel and they threw it all away. And Rav Kook looked at it, and instead of other people who got angry, let's scream at them, let's throw rocks at them, let's hit them, Rav Kook said, no, you have to understand, there's something deep about these people. There's something special about these people. You have to bring them back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but also understand that if after 2,000 years HaKadosh Baruch Hu decided, I'm going to send all these people to Israel, there must be a reason for this. There must be something underneath it. And Rav Kook set out to write a new book on Tshuva. A book called Orot HaTeshuva. I want to read this to you today. Zeh kama, and I have this in my book that I wrote. This is in the introduction. I quote this chapter. Zeh kama ani nilcham milchama pnimit. It's a very long time that I'm having an inner struggle, an inner war inside of me. V'ruach chazaka dochefet oti ledaber ad dvar HaTeshuva. And there's a strong wind that's pushing me, talk about Tshuva, talk about Tshuva, talk about Tshuva. V'chol rayonotai rak bahem murukazim. And all my ideas, all my thoughts, I can only think about Tshuva, says Rav Kook. I'm obsessed with Tshuva. התשובה היא תופסת את החלק היותר גדול בתורה ובחיים. The tshuva takes up the central part of the Torah and of life as a whole. The Rambam says in Hilchot Tshuva, the Torah, the tshuva, ikar gadol, it's a big ikar. The Rambam there is not exactly talking about tshuva, it's not fair. The Rambam there is talking about free will, about b'chira chofshit. But tshuva is connected to your free will to be able to come back to Hashem. V'hu amud haTorah v'amitzvah. And the Rambam in the same place says that if you really believe that Hashem decided before you were born what you're going to do in your life and what you're going to come, it says the Rambam, Uma makom lekol haTorah kula. So what's the point of the Torah? If everything is already predetermined, predestined, so what's the point for me? The Rambam, it cannot be that way. Where the choices that I make in my life, I am responsible for those choices. If I do an averah, if I do something wrong, it's my fault. I have to take responsibility. Somebody once tried to say, listen, I do averot because Hashem, if He didn't want me to do an averah, He would stop me. So if I'm doing averah, it turns out that I'm doing Ratzon Hashem, I'm doing the will of God. He's a shotesh ba'olam, he's a crazy person. What do you mean you're doing an averah, it's the will of God? It doesn't work that way. עליה בנויות כל התקוות האישיות והציבוריות is on the basis of tshuva. Tshuva means returning to Hashem, fixing your life, reversing decisions that you made. This is what not just Torah is built on, not just personal life is dependent on, but tziburiot, the society as a whole, needs the ability to rehabilitate itself, to fix itself, to come back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hi mitzvat Hashem, she mitzad echad kala shebakalot. He said it's a mitzvah that's interestingly enough, it's the easiest of all the mitzvot. Why is it the easiest of all the mitzvot? Tshuva. What is the minimum level of tshuva a person has to do? The minimum, not the maximum. The maximum, the minimum. Very good. So we have a story. There's a story about a man named Eliezer ben Yehuda. Do you know who this man is? There's a street in Jerusalem named after him. He was a yeshiva boy once upon a time who left everything and became a Hebrew scholar. You would see him, he would study books of Gemara and Chumash without a kippah on his head. He was rewriting the Hebrew language. Shabbat, kosher, nothing. He was now just a Hebrew scholar. And he revived a lot of the Hebrew language, the first dictionary, a lot of things that he did. Rav Kook used to always stay in touch with him. And you have many letters in Rav Kook's letters from Eliezer ben Yehuda to Rav Kook. I found the Tosfot in Masechet Kritot, and it says this word. Can I use this word to mean plumbing in Hebrew? Whatever he asked him. Things that Rav Kook answered him. He was not a simple person. And once, Eliezer ben Yehuda came to Rav Kook's office to ask him a question. And Rav Kook said, I don't understand. Eliezer, when are you going to do tshuva already? Who are you fooling? You learn Torah all day long. You're writing the Hebrew language. You're committing yourself to the Jewish people. No, it's time to come back to Hashem already. And Eliezer ben Yehuda said, you know, Rav Kook, I'm actually thinking that I should do that. I want to do that. And he left the office and he died the same week. And at his funeral, Rav Kook said that Eliezer ben Yehuda went up clean. Because it says in the Gemara, our rabbis tell us, Hirhurei tshuva, just thinking about tshuva, ki tshuva dam, is like doing tshuva. Just that thought that he said out loud, I'm thinking I really want to do tshuva. That is the most minimal level of doing tshuva. It's enough.
You have to get forgiveness.
Right, I mean that's step one. This is step one, but step one is worth something. So Rav Kook says, on one hand, it's the easiest of the mitzvot. U'mitzad echad harei kasha shebakashot. It's also one of the hardest mitzvot. Shelo yatsa adayin lapoal bimloa ba'olam u'b'chaim. It's so hard of a mitzvah that you still don't see that the world did tshuva yet. You have millions of Jews that don't know what Shabbat and kosher look like. You have millions of human beings, they never even heard of the Torah before. They don't even know who God is. You have tribes in Africa still beating their chest and bowing down to rocks. You understand? The world doesn't know tshuva yet. Rav Kook said you have extremes. On one hand, tshuva is so easy. On the other hand, how in the world are we going to get the world to do tshuva? הנני מוציא את עצמי נוטה לחשוב ולדבר תמיד רק על אודותיי. So all I can talk about is תשובה, תשובה, תשובה. הרבה כתוב בתורה, בנביאים ודברי חכמים. That a lot is written in the Torah and the prophets and the words of our sages על אודותיי, about the תשובה. ולדורנו עדיין הדברים סתומים וצוחים ביור. He said, in our generation, all these ideas of tshuva are closed. It's a closed book. I'm debating whether to pause here and explain or to finish the paragraph and explain. Let me finish the paragraph with you. הספרות המשוטטת בכל הזוויות שיש שם שירה וחיים. Even the authors, the poets, the songwriters, they've gone to all the corners about love, about peace, about war, about hope, about whatever they talk about. Today they even talk about crazy things. They've all gone everywhere. לא חדרה כלל לתוך אוצר החיים הנפלא הזה, אוצר התשובה. They still don't have songs yet about tshuva, about coming close to Hashem. No one have books. People didn't write books about it yet. באמת לא התחילה כלל להתעניין בו. Doesn't even care yet about tshuva. לדעת את תכונתו וערכו אפילו מצידו הפיוטי, even the song side of it. שום מלבב לאין חקר וקל וחומר שנקפה אצבע עדיין הדבר צידו המעשי. בייחוד במה שנוגע למצבי החיים החדשים שלנו, says Rav Kook, we're in a different generation. And the people of this generation have not yet supplied the generation with what it needs in order to do tshuva. There's a lot that this generation needs. Maybe here I'll take a pause. There was a Rebbe called the Babov Rebbe.
Babov?
Babov. I don't know, this is the previous Babov Rebbe. And the Babov Rebbe once said to his students, he said, you know, there was a man in the 12th century that he was a famous warrior, that he conquered all the inquisitors and the whatever crusaders he was fighting, not inquisitors, crusaders, the Talbanim, the crusaders he was fighting. He fought them, he won, he was a famous warrior. Says the Babov Rebbe, I traveled to his grave and I made him come back to life. Okay, and obviously these are Hasidic stories, right? So in Hasidic stories, you have to smile and say, okay, yeah. He brought him back to life. He brought him back to life. He says, my dear friend the warrior, you managed to conquer all the crusaders in the world. Maybe now it's time that you come and fight all the enemies of the Jewish people. We need you back. Said, and the soldier told him, are you crazy? Do you know I only have a sword? Because today you guys have guns, you guys have tanks, You have airplanes, you have nuclear weapons, you have missiles, I get crazy things. He said, how do you want to come with a sword? I'm going to win? He said, it worked. In the 12th century, a sword worked. He said, but you have crazy enemies today. You have Iran, a little bit, it takes out, what did someone told me, a fist of whatever chemicals, and they could blow up the whole world with it. It's a crazy thing. It used to be a warrior to send soldiers across. Today you send drones, they're flying over, shooting people, killing people, coming back. So what happened? You lose a drone, okay, $50,000. Well, that whatever it is that a drone comes. I said, you don't understand, I'm not going to win the war with a sword. I was famous, I was a good warrior, but back in the day, the Baba Rebbe said, it's the same thing here. Many tzaddikim wrote about tshuva, but they wrote about, well, with a sword they wrote. The Baba Rebbe, when he came to America, he said that the real Hasidim of the Baal Shem Tov, they weren't in Meshbush where the Baal Shem Tov lived. They're here in New York. Now, one day, the Satmar Rebbe once told the story. The Satmar Rebbe got up and he said, everyone, I want you to know, there are no mitnagdim in the world. There are no opponents to Hasidut left in the world. All the Hasidim are cheering, yeah, everyone loves the Hasidim. But no, that's not why. He said the reason why there are no more mitnagdim in the world, because there are no more real Hasidim left in the world. So if there's no more real Hasidim, so there's also not any mitnagdim left. But the Baba Rebbe said the other way around. The Baba Rebbe said, when I came to America, I saw, look at these people. He said in Meshbush, I don't know, you're sitting in a village in Russia. You were sitting in a town in Morocco, somewhere in a little ghetto. You were sitting in Yemen, in a village with your blanket. You want to do an Avera. You want to do something wrong. What do you do? What Avera do you have to do? Some places you couldn't even find not kosher food. Meaning, what are you going to go to the kosher butcher and ask him to give you a ham sandwich? What do you have? You want to do an Avera. You want to sneak away with somebody. There's nobody to sneak away with. So what Averot do people have? He said, in the one Averah, you thought something bad, you felt so bad because you were wasting your mind. Oh, Hashem, I'm sorry. So the rabbis who wrote Shuvah, the Baba Rebbe says that they wrote all about Shuvah, but with a sword. What Averot were people dealing with? But today's generation, Rav Shlomo Karbach says that in today's generation, Rav Shlomo, I have in front of me 2 books. One is Rav Kook's students' classes on Orot HaTeshuva, and one is Rabbi Shlomo Karbach's classes on Orot HaTeshuva. Very interesting. I never found it till recently. And he says the amount of averot we can do in 30 seconds today, it took 100 generations to do the same averot. Am I wrong? Yesterday I went to the beach. After the wedding at night, someone told me there are special fish that are going to jump out of the water. Let me tell you, not fish and nothing jumped out of the water, nothing happened, but okay, someone must have sent me to the beach for fun. I went with my phone, and we're walking on the beach. It's about 12 o'clock at night. Full of young people smoking and drinking and all. I felt like I was in Sdom. I don't know what happened. And they're not old people, not like, they're 20-year-olds, college. This is a summer vacation now. 13 years old, 14 years old, boys, girls, 10, sleeping on the beach. Come on outside. This is San Diego. Imagine what it looks like in other places. The averot that a person does today, nobody in the world, when Rabbeinu Yonah wrote Shaar HaTeshuva, was telling you how to do tshuva, I don't believe he would have imagined what kind of averot people are capable of today. And perhaps this is what Rav Kook is saying to understand today's generation, to talk about tshuva, they need a new book. There used to be, what does the Gemara say? Your Yetzer Hara comes and attacks you, take him to the Beit HaMidrash, take him to synagogue. Yeah, you get Moshech or the Beit HaMidrash. Today, nobody goes to synagogue. Today, if you don't drag him by his nose to the synagogue, nobody's going to go. So you lived in a generation where you had a problem, okay, so tell your Yetzer Hara, come, let's go learn some Gemara together. Let's go learn some Chumash together. Who even goes to the Beit HaMidrash today? Think about it for a moment. Aside from praying, when was the last time you just walked into the synagogue and said, I want to learn a little bit? Not with a rabbi, not just on yourself, on your own. These things don't work for us today. If Kook is saying you want to help tshuva of this generation, the struggles of this generation, you have to talk to them the way this generation needs to be spoken to. You have to understand them. You know, when I used to travel with the Kehillat Rebbe in San Diego here, I was traveling around with them in different synagogues, and in Israel. The Kehillat Rebbe should live and be well. Hashem should give him a flash them out. He would come to high schools and sit down with boys. He's a Hasidic Rebbe, you know, a big tzaddik. They would talk to him about their girlfriends. They would talk to them about the drugs they're taking. They would talk to him about who knows what, if they want to use their iPhone on Shabbat, they really want to, they don't know how to do it. And he would see that, I would be so embarrassed for him. Like, why does he have to hear these stories? He didn't care. Because he knew this generation, they needed a rabbi who was going to listen to, you know, even the guy who has a girlfriend needs to go to someone for advice. And the Rebbe, when he could, he used to get people to change their relationships, and he would get people to keep Shabbat and to put on tzitzit, but because he understood them. He understood them. We need such a thing.
Rav Kook, his father was a Litai and his mother was a Hasidim.
Yes, Rav Kook was from a double...
Meurav.
Yes. Rav Kook was an interesting combination. Rav Kook's family was actually a Chassidut called, they had a certain connection to Breslov and Ishbitz, but they weren't from there. They were part of a Chassidut called Kapust.
Kapust?
Do you know what this is?
Kapust is...
Isn't that the last name too?
Cabbage.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, so he was a cabbage Chassid. I don't know what to say. Vori,
Yeah,
have you heard of the Kapust Chassidim?
yeah.
Who were they?
I don't know anything about them, but I heard stories.
Okay, so the Kapust Chassidim were a breakaway from Chabad. In Europe, in the old days, they were from Chabad. The first son of the Tzemach Tzedek, the oldest son, his name was Rabbi Yehuda Leib Schneerson. He opened up his own Chassidut. It was part of Chabad, but it was a different... Chabad had many breakaways, they don't tell you about. Many other Rebbes. They had many generations of Rebbes who broke away, and in the Holocaust, the entire Chassidut of Kapust was wiped out. But Rav Kook's mother's side came from such a family. Rav Kook's grandfather was a Kapust Chassid, so he learned both. He knew the Lithuanian Torah and the Chassid Torah. Rav Tzvi Yehuda Kook used to say that Rav Kook, when he wrote this book, he first studied all the writings of the rabbis who wrote about Tshuva. The Ashkenazim, the Sfaradim, the Hasidim, the Litaim, everything he studied, and then he condensed it in a book. So when Rav Kook writes something here, it's all the opinions that he could find. Obviously with his own style, his own flavor. And then Rav Kook shares with you a struggle that he has. It's a real struggle. Anochi, hineni nidchaf me'atzmuti, hapnimit daber advar tshuva. I feel like my inner soul is pushing me. Speak about tshuva, write something. V'hineni nislad ba'atzmi m'machshavti. He said, but then I recoil, I pull back and I get terrified. What scares Rav Kook? Hara'ui anochi daber advar tshuva. Am I worthy of speaking about tshuva? What does that mean, am I worthy of speaking about tshuva? Who is Rav Kook? They find a similar language. Anyone here learn Chovot HaLevavot? Rabbeinu Bachaya ibn Pekudeh. The Duties of the Heart. Do you know this book? In the introduction there, Rabbeinu Bachaya says, who am I to write such a book? He's a Rabbeinu Bachaya, he's one of the Rishonim. Like Gaon Olam. Genius of the world. He's not sure, it's Anava, humility. Who am I to write such a book? In the introduction to the Tanya, in the cover page, Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi writes, I didn't write here anything on my own. I just copied what all the other rabbis before me wrote. Let me tell you, all the rabbis before him didn't write the Sefer Tanya. But he was being humble. He didn't want to say, hey, I wrote a whole new book that everyone has to learn. The Torah scholars are, you see when they're humble. Humility. Someone comes and tells you, oh, I'm right, I know everything. This person, run away from him like you run away from fire.
Ramchal also
What does it say?
Ramchal.
Where?
In
Yisad
the
Shaar?
introduction to Mesilat
Yeah, very
Yesharim,
good.
it says, I don't say you anything new. I say you everything that you already know and it was told, and I'm just reviewing.
But is it true? That's the thing. He's being humble. Rav Kook is saying, who am I? כתבו הדבר התשובה גדולי הדורות שעברו. The rabbis before us already wrote about תשובה. הנביאים, the prophets, והחכמים, the sages, היותר טהורים, they were more pure than me, says Rav Kook. החסידים היותר גדולים, the righteous people who were greater than I. ואיך אוכל אנוכי להתייצב בקהלם? How can I, Rav Kook, hey, I'm going to pull up a chair and join the rabbis who wrote about tshuva? Who am I? But then says Rav Kook, but is this a true feeling? Are you allowed to feel this way? What is he feeling?
That even that he's not worthy to write a book.
Right.
Are you allowed to think that you are not worthy?
Yeah.
If it's a healthy humility, then yes. If it's like some extreme thing, like in Christianity or something, the monks, they go all the way low to say, oh, I'm nothing, I'm a dust, I'm nobody. Then it's too much.
So, healthy humility. Let's assume Rav Kook has healthy humility. Okay, let's assume, I hope so. Is he making up an excuse here? Or does he really feel this way?
I think it actually has humility, yeah.
Definitely, when you do something, you have to think, am I the first person to ask this question? No. You ever heard someone ask a question? Oh, I have a question, like how could God do X, Y, or Z? Let's ignore the question at its root. Are you the first person to ask this question? Yeah. How could God make the Holocaust happen? That's a famous question.
Okay.
You don't think the Bluzhever Rebbe, when he survived the Holocaust, unlike you sitting in college and you're 18 years old, the Bluzhever Rebbe who survived the Holocaust, you don't think he asked himself the same question? He had an answer. A little bit of humility. Don't pretend like there's no answer. A little bit wouldn't hurt a person. Rav Kook is trying to say, I'm not writing a book on Shuvah because nobody did it already. I'm only doing it because I feel that I need to write it for a new generation. But any weakness in the world cannot lefatreni, to exempt me mitviyati hapnimit, from my inner convictions. מוכרח אני לדבר על דבר תשובה. I must speak about תשובה. ודווקא בצידה הספרותי והמעשי. Both in the textual book side of it, והמעשי, in the practical side of תשובה. להבנת התוכן שלה בדורנו, to understand its content in our generation, ולהגשמתה בחיים. And how you bring תשובה into your real life. בחיי הפרט, not just in the world of the individual, but also בחיי הכלל, also in the world of the masses, society at large. This is perhaps what set Rav Kook's book aside from everyone else's book. Everyone else tells the individual, hey you, Mr. So-and-so, this is how you do tshuva. Rav Kook's book doesn't just talk to the person. It says, how does Am Yisrael do tshuva? How does the world need to do tshuva? What happens to the world when the world does tshuva? It's speaking not just to individuals, but also to people at large. And this is perhaps our hope, that until Elul, Tishrei, we'll be learning this book of Rav Kook, we'll be sitting, we'll be studying, we'll understand what is tshuva, how does tshuva work, and to know that our generation today doesn't need to be beaten up. People think, let's go scream at everybody and get them to keep Shabbat, and we'll make them eat kosher, and now they'll all become holy people. Harav Peretz once said, there was a farmer, and he had a cow. And the cow didn't want to eat. So what did the farmer do? He took a stick, he said, cow, if you don't eat, I'm going to hit you. He hit the cow. Poor cow started screaming, but it didn't eat. He said, oh, you stupid cow, you didn't learn your lesson? I'm hitting you again. So the poor guy killed the cow. And the cow just didn't get it. Such a chutzpah cow, such a cow full of audacity. How could it not listen to me? I'm the owner. The cow didn't understand one word you were saying. And all you chose to do was beat it up. Al-Pellet says our generation today full of cows. So people, they're not eating this grass or not eating the grass because they're angry. They're not doing it because they hate Hashem. They're not doing it because they're doing it because they don't know any better. Someone today, my student from Yerushalayim, sent me an article about a girl who wrote about how she keeps kosher, how important it is to keep kosher, how when you go to a restaurant, you have to tell the waiters, don't put any pig in my food. And if you give me turkey, I can't have my ice cream afterwards. And she's eating not kosher food. But she thinks she's keeping kosher. This person, what are you going to go? Hit it with a stick? You're going to go to hell. Is that the way of the generation? It's not a bad person. And if you speak it like that, the person doesn't understand. Hell, we don't know what does that mean? Shabbat. I don't know what Shabbat looks like. What do you want from me? You tell me, hey, I really think you should start keeping Shabbat. I would love to, but I don't know. What do I start? What do I do? What is Shabbat? What day of the week is Shabbat? No idea people have. You don't have to hit them. Speak to them. Find their neshama. And say, look, you're not a cow. I want to teach you to be better than a cow. You're a human being. You'll understand things. With a lot of love. A lot of care. Rav Aviner says, we're not apologizing. We're not accepting the person. We're not accepting it. It's not sovlanut, tolerance. We're tolerating your lack of observance. Sovlanut. We have patience for you. Patience. A lot of patience. We're not going to disown you. If you do this, we're not going to throw you out of the synagogue. You're just another Jew like all of us. It's an important thing to know. This generation doesn't want to get hit by a stick. And the people who run around hitting people with a stick, they're making people run away from Judaism so far that we're never going to find them again. And we have an advantage. Today the Christians go around hitting people with sticks. That's what they hit. They're going to burn hell, eternal damnation. Okay. Even the non-Jews are afraid of Christianity. And we have a chance in this generation, to be able to free them from this. We have a chance to be able to say, oh, Shalom Aleichem. We have a chance to be able to tell them, even you can be saved by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem doesn't hit you with sticks. Hashem is not going to burn you forever. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't work like that. We also have to teach that to the world. That's what Rav Kook says, B'chei HaPrat, teach individuals about tshuva. And also B'chei HaKlal. Also teach the world, the masses. Not the Jews have to know about tshuva, and also the world has to know about tshuva. It's time the world realizes that there's one God, and that God, he doesn't go to the mosque, and that God doesn't. This God is Am Hashem. This God is the people of Israel and the God of Israel. That's our job. That's what we should teach them. And hopefully throughout this month we'll embrace these midot and really get involved into the world of tshuva. And Hashem should bless us that we should do a proper tshuva in front of Him.